everyone. So it's the start of a new week and we're on Monday. So we've had a couple of sales actually last night, which has been good. So I'm just about to pack those up just now. We had a sale on, a couple of sales on Vinted, just like a hoodie and I think a shirt, and then some of our older stock. And then we also have sold one of our vintage Gucci wallets on eBay, and this one's actually going to Australia. So took us a little minute last night to figure out the postage, because on eBay it was like defaulting it to like UPS postage, where I hadn't picked that. I'd actually picked Royal Mail, and obviously there's quite a big price difference. So the price that I'd put in to the, when when the person makes the sale, I think it was like £20 odd or £20, and obviously the UPS is like more than double that. So but anyway, we managed to figure it out, managed to get it switched back to Royal Mail, so that's good. So just about to package that up. So that's the plan for just now. So yeah, if you're new here, my name is Gemma, and me and my fiance James run a business where we sell vintage and luxury items, and we kind of just take you along and share how we are getting on with that. We've been doing it for not much over a year now. So this is our Gucci wallet that we're just about to package up here. So nice little chain detail there, and what I like about this kind of wallet is you actually press the button, try to do this in one hand, and you take out this little pin, and that's how you open the wallet. Everyone, so it's a couple of days later, so it's now sort of nearer the end of the week. It's Friday today. I've just packed up a hoodie. You'll just seen that one of our older pieces of stock, so we've been trying to get rid of our sort of hoodies, like vintage hoodies and things like that. I'm not actually sure that one's vintage, but sort of trying to clear all that out. We've not got too many pieces left actually to sell to try and clear that, and I'm just about to pack up another order we got for a Coach wallet that we sold on eBay. So yeah, it's been quite slow for sales, but we still are getting them trickling in, which is quite nice. So I'll just quickly show you that wallet and get it all packed up. So it's a little nice square Coach wallet, black leather on there, and they've got the Coach monogram in brown on the rest of it, gold little zips and things like that. And then this is on the side, so black leather inside, really good condition, and obviously all the all the card slots and everything, and a nice sort of gold Coach logo on the front. So I'm pretty sure I've mentioned before how we go about packaging things, because obviously we don't want items getting damaged when we do send them out. And I think if you'd watched our last video where we spoke about how our Coach bag that we sold kind of went a bit, somebody made a video about it which is kind of went a bit viral. So just a little update on that, that's still getting views. So I think on the person's Facebook page who made the video, I think the last time I checked, or had a wee look at it, they were up at 60,000 views, which is quite a big difference between their normal videos. So really interesting. And I actually had a little laugh at one of the comments. As I said, we sort of talk about the drama about that bag and about that video in our last video, so if you want to see that, I will link that below. But somebody actually commented, oh my god, I can't believe the comments on this video, all for a, like what I said, all for a £30 bag. So yeah, I just think, again, sort of repeating what I said in that last video, I actually can't believe how passionate, I suppose, but also how negative and rude some people can be online, and just how they take things really, I suppose, seriously. And yeah, really interesting. And as that woman said, I think she said something along the lines of, it's a bag, not a living organ. So anyway, but yes, I'll just show you how we package up our like purses and our smaller items. So what we actually do is we wrap the purse or the wallet itself in some like packing paper. So this is just like quite plain, quite thick packing paper, and then that goes into a little box which we fold up here. It's quite handy because it's got the little sticky tab along the top, so you don't have to like use any tape. We normally put tape on anyway, just for like extra security. And we also use little stickers to kind of like close it up and things as well. And then we always put in our little business cards just to direct people like to our website and things. I should have mentioned last week that we are trying to direct people to our website a little bit more. So we did a lot of work on that yesterday, like just getting our Shopify website looking how we wanted it to look. So if that's something that you may be thinking about doing, I'll kind of talk through the bits that we've changed and what we've added, because it's some things we wouldn't have even maybe thought of, and like why we've added them to our website. And as I said before, with the cards, the business cards, that's a really good way if you are selling on the likes of Vinted or eBay or Depop. They don't like you directing people to your website in like messages and things. Like your messages can get deleted, your account can even maybe get flagged, which isn't great. However, you can obviously stick a little business card or even a little bit of paper in your parcels with maybe your Instagram on it if you want to direct people to that, or if you do have a website, or anywhere else that you're wanting to direct people to. Business cards are a great way to do it because they're already a customer, so they're already interested in you, they've already spent money with you. And if sometimes we've actually been putting in little discount codes as well, so just like a little thank you discount code, we might put in like a 10%, 15% off, which we then set up on our website. So that's just another little thing that you could do to try and like migrate people over to your website rather than going through like other platforms like Vinted and things. So as I mentioned before, even though these boxes have seals here, and obviously we've got our sticker on as well, I also like to put some parcel tape just at either end, just to kind of make sure it's all sealed up as best as it can be. So it's the next day now. Got all those packages sent off yesterday. Spent a little bit of time relisting a few things on eBay. I think I mentioned in previous videos how we're not really focusing too much doing that on Vinted as much, but doing it on eBay, because eBay actually don't mind you relisting, and you can just basically take down your old listing and use the same photos and things like that. They actually actively encourage you to do it. So it's been a little while actually since we've been relisting anything, just because we've been focusing on our Shopify store and doing a few things with that. But what I wanted to talk about was something I've noticed this week with Vinted. So, I've been seeing a lot of posts and just things online about Vinted banning or restricting a lot of different accounts. And I thought we could, I could talk a little bit more about that, and maybe even just sort of think about some of the things that might get your account restricted or banned that you might not realise that you're doing. So I thought I would just come through to our living room just so I could sit down and actually have a look at some of the Vinted things, like their sort of policies and stuff online. So very confusing. I feel like there's been a big, I feel like Vinted have had a big massive crackdown recently on selling, like on sellers. So just been hearing a lot about people being banned or restricted and things like that, and actually it happened to us. However, it was my fault. It was a item that was I think it was a Coach purse, and in the description I'd accidentally written Gucci somewhere. Like I sort of said when I was describing it, I'd used the word Gucci because we do sell a lot of Coach and Gucci, and I just like innocently gotten mixed up. So in the description. But yeah, we ended up getting so instead of them just flagging it and saying to like obviously change it, we ended up with a restriction for 5 days. So we were still allowed to, you know, sell things and obviously earn money, but we weren't allowed to list anything for 5 days. So the first time that's ever happened to us. So but in that kind of period, I was hearing a lot about other sellers being restricted and some people being outright banned, like permanently banned for lots of different things. One of the main things that I was hearing a lot about was people commercially or being told they were commercially selling. So a few different scenarios that I was seeing was people uploading basically a lot of listings in one day. So they were uploading, I mean, I don't have the exact number or anything, but they were uploading a load of stuff all at the one time because I think they were having like a clear out in their house or a wardrobe clear out or whatever, and just uploaded it all at the one time. And because they were uploading so many listings all at the one time, they were being flagged as commercially selling, even though the stuff was secondhand, which I'm pretty sure I've read somewhere that it's only if it's new, then it gets flagged, because then it could be commercial. So a load of people being flagged for that. A load of people being flagged for selling, again, new with tags, because that can be flagged as commercially selling. They think you're selling a lot of new items that you've obviously bought from like a warehouse or drop shipping or whatever. And again, it was people that were actually just uploading a load of things at one go that they'd maybe gotten for Christmas or past birthday presents or whatever, and they were obviously all new. And then the other thing that I was hearing, and this was again from quite a few different people, and which is bizarre, is they were being flagged because they were commercially selling, and they were advised, right, you need to make a pro Vinted account. And then after they'd made a pro Vinted account, they were then flagged again and restricted for commercially selling with a Vinted Pro account. And obviously they were talking about how is that even a thing, because the whole point of you being able to sell commercially is that you are signed up to Vinted Pro, and they were still flagging them for commercially selling. So I don't know if there's maybe if there's maybe even further restrictions that you're not allowed to do certain things even though you're a Vinted Pro seller. Not entirely sure. So so that's something to keep an eye out for. If you are listing things, maybe don't list loads all in one go, because you could be flagged for commercially selling, and especially if it is things that are new with tags. And I do have a bit of mixed feelings about this, because obviously, you know, as somebody who is selling things, you do want, you know, to be able to have platforms to sell on. And obviously we all know that if you are selling things that are vintage or even handmade things, or, you know, sort of, you know, unique pieces, selling them on the likes of Etsy or even Amazon can be quite challenging, because there's a lot of drop shippers on there. There's a lot of people selling stuff from Temu and AliExpress, and obviously AI if you're selling artwork and things like that. So I suppose on one hand it is quite good that Vinted is being quite strict with this kind of stuff, so that there aren't people on there that are like kind of abusing, you know, being able to sell things. But obviously there's a lot of innocent sellers being caught up in the kind of crossfire of it, and there are people that are innocently just trying to sell their pre-owned things, or they are selling commercially and they're following all the rules and they're still being flagged. And obviously their income's been restricted, their shops, their store, or their, you know, their profile's been restricted, and it's quite frustrating. So I have a bit of mixed feelings about this. But it's just sort of to flag, to obviously, you know, try not to be list too many things in one go, especially if they are new with tags. So another thing that could potentially get your account flagged or restricted is handmade items. And again, this is very confusing, because I'm literally just looking at, you know, this on their policies and things just now. So they do have a thing where you're not allowed to sell handmade items. And I know that there's a lot of, you know, you can find handmade items on there. I've actually bought handmade stuff on there from the person, and their whole store is handmade. I actually think they should allow handmade stuff, but obviously I think it's to do with like safety things and things like that. But there's a bit of confusion, because in their description, you know, when you sort of pick the brand or whatever, I'm pretty sure there's one that says handmade, or like you can put handmade as an option, which is, you know, if you weren't allowed to do that, you think it would stop you, or it would flag it right away and wouldn't even let you list it if you could type in handmade or whatever. So handmade, yeah, it's a little bit confusing. And then I'm literally just looking at their policies just now on their website, and it says a small number of unique handmade items is allowed. So you are allowed to sell handmade things, just a small amount. But then what do they class as a small amount? 5, 3, 10? Like, it's not very clear. And again, I was seeing a lot of people who were selling handmade things. But what was weird though is that they hadn't made them. They'd maybe bought it from somewhere else or another brand, and it was handmade. It was like a handmade crochet blanket or a handmade, beaded necklace or something. But they hadn't, it's not like they were making it themselves and selling it like what you would do on Etsy. They just bought it and it was a handmade item. Or they'd maybe bought it from like, say, a art crafts fair or something. And they were obviously then selling it on. So yeah, that's really weird. So again, handmade stuff could get you flagged. It does say a small amount is fine. Don't know what I mean by that. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that, so I don't know if I would risk listing handmade things, but just because you could, and I've heard people just getting listings taken down right the way through to getting their entire account banned. So I don't know how they decide how serious it is, or what level of like consequence you get. And then another one is cosmetics. So I do agree with this. Like, obviously we shouldn't be buying used cosmetics, even if it is perfumes and things like that, just because for hygiene and things like that. However, again, I was sort of seeing cases where people had uploaded brand new inboxes with the security seal still sealed, and they were getting flagged. So I don't know who it is, or if it's a bot that's checking and maybe they're getting it wrong. But yeah, a few people selling those kind of things and obviously getting flagged, even though they were actually following the rules and they were brand new and still sealed and everything. Personally, for me, I probably just wouldn't risk it, just because I wouldn't want my account being flagged. So yeah, anything that's cosmetics, makeup, perfume, anything like that. And then even things like, it says here, like teeth bleaching and any sort of skin bleaching or anything like that, you're not even allowed to sell any of that at all, even if it is sealed and everything. And then it seems as well a lot of things that are related to like safety stuff. So anything that might need extra safety checks, like pet harnesses, and then it seems to me like anything that's to do with like children, as in, or babies, like to do with sleeping stuff, blankets, toys, all that kind of stuff. There seems to be, it's not like you can't sell that kind of stuff, you can, but there seems to be a lot of rules around that, which totally fit, which you'd expect for the safety side of it. Again, that's something that for me I probably wouldn't risk in case I got it wrong. I'd be scared in case I got it wrong. And then a lot of things, like obviously like chemical stuff, like DIY, like things like paints, varnishes, all that kind of thing. Not allowed to sell any of that, which totally fine. And then again, anything to do with like head protection, to do with safety goggles, helmets, it says here face shields. So again, anything to do with like safety, probably wouldn't put it on Vinted, just because there's a lot of rules around that. And then obviously another thing that you probably wouldn't do well selling on Vinted is anything that's like a dupe or something, or fake designer stuff, even if it's not designer, even if it's just a brand. Again, I was actually seeing people who were saying they'd been flagged for selling Marks and Spencer's clothing, like Marks and Spencer's, like, women's clothing, showing the labels and everything, and their account has been flagged for counterfeit. Now, I'm sorry, but who's going to, like, you're not going to fake, like, stuff like high street brands. So there's obviously something going on with Vinted just now, and whatever bot or whatever system they're using to flag things is almost went really hypersensitive and is being really, really picky. So like anything that's kind of like counterfeit, anything that's infringing on copyright stuff as well, any handmade products, it says here, that looks like it resembles like another brand. So again, you're trying, handmade stuff that's trying to copy things. So, and then obviously the things you'd expect, like, like obviously dangerous items, stolen items, firearms, all that kind of stuff. You're not allowed to sell any of that. Very random one here. 3D printers that are designed to produce metal or metal alloy components. So I don't know why you're not allowed to sell one of those, but whatever. And then anything that includes human or animal remains. Lovely. So, or byproducts from the human body. So again, don't know why anyone would want to sell anything like that, but that's a no as well. So another one, which I've just spotted, which I did actually hear about somebody being flagged for this, was any samples, testers, or promotional items that were not intended for sale. So I'm assuming things like perfume testers or perfume samples, even though they're sealed, perfume samples, or I suppose if to say, I don't know, I know sometimes certain designers give out free gifts, like free things like little things like key rings or tote bags or, you know, things like that. Even brands, I suppose, that are just high street brands might give out these things for promotional purposes. They're not for sale, they're just like for free for the customers. You're not allowed to sell anything like that. So the person that I seen, she was selling lots of like little perfume minis, like little testers, and she was getting flagged for that, and she didn't know why, because obviously they were sealed, they were all perfectly new, and this is obviously, I think somebody did say, oh, it's because it's a sample, it's a perfume sample, it's not meant to be sold, because you can, a lot of the time you get them for free or you get them in something else, so you're not allowed to sell anything like that. So that's maybe just something to keep in mind. I'm just thinking about like the people that sell, you know how you get the Supreme stickers, like if you buy something from a brand, you get like little free gifts. You might get like a little you know, like a little perfume, you might get stickers, you might get a little keyring or a little coaster or a magnet, anything like that. You're not allowed to sell those. So again, I don't know if I don't know how they're really going to police that, but I suppose if you're maybe selling like a big bundle of, say, Supreme stickers, that could be something that you could get flagged for. So didn't know that one, really interested in that one. Another one is food and drink. Didn't know that either. I thought you could sell food, like as long as it was packet, you know, like dry food, and obviously not anything that needs to be put in the fridge or anything, but like boxes of stuff, I thought you were allowed to sell that. So you're not allowed to sell that. And then and also delivery or shipping company uniforms and things. Now I've actually seen a delivery bag for sale on Vinted, so yeah, you're not allowed to sell that. Even so, I'm assuming that probably got taken down pretty quickly. And obviously things like anything with animal fur or animal skin or anything. Oh, very interesting. You're not allowed to sell anything animal fur and its products. So you're not. So it actually says here natural shell. So I would assume then that if you've maybe, like I'm just thinking jewellery and stuff like that, that's maybe got shells on it, you're maybe not allowed to sell that. And then obviously different skins, like reptile skins, exotic skins, animal fur, things like that. But obviously stuff like leather and wool and everything's fine. But yeah, so that's another thing to keep an eye out for is shells, because a lot of the time you can get like jewellery and things that's got shells on it. Another one that I'm quite surprised at, so I'm going through, there's a lot, I'm not going to obviously sit and read it all out. There's a lot of stuff that you just assume, like knives and things like that, and like things that are, you know, like for example HVAC units, just things that like, again, safety stuff that you would expect. However, advent calendars, you're not allowed to sell those. Surprise packages and bundles, so I'm assuming like things like mystery boxes and stuff like that, you're not allowed to sell, or blind boxes, so didn't know that. Video games that feature loot boxes, I don't know what that is, so yeah, you're not allowed to sell that. So I'm just cutting in here while I am currently editing the video that we've just filmed. So I mentioned that I wasn't sure what this video with a loot box is. So I actually ended up Googling what it meant. And it says it's a method of where you buy like your video games, and they refer to blindly purchasing packs of virtual items, hoping to secure rare or valuable pieces. So yeah, I'm assuming it's items that you use within the game. I think that's right. You can tell I don't play video games. But I just actually realised there when I was editing this, you won't be able to sell Pokemon cards on Vinted. I've never actually looked for them, but obviously Pokemon cards are a type of like mystery box. You don't know what you're getting in each packet, if it's a sealed packet. Same with things like football cards, football stickers, or any other type of thing like that. You know, so that's another thing to watch out for, because I'd imagine those would be quite popular, or you'd think they'd be quite popular in Vinted. So yeah, no Pokemon cards either. So yeah, quite a lot of stuff there that I was a little bit surprised at. Let me know in the comments below if there was any of the things that I mentioned that you were a bit surprised at as well. Obviously that's not everything, there's a big massive list of other things. A lot of it's quite obvious, as I said, with the dangerous items, but there is a lot of random things that you would maybe, I wouldn't really go to Vinted to look for this, but it's not really something that I would have thought would have been not allowed. But it does say here as well that, you know, if you do try and sell some of these items, they don't really specify exactly what might happen to your account. So it basically says that the item would get removed, your listing would be removed, and you could also be subject to other actions. Yeah, so it could lead to your account being permanently blocked or just temporarily blocked. So yeah, they're not very clear on what might actually happen. And as I said, I've been seeing a lot, like, yeah, a lot. It must have been, honestly, there's a massive load of people all like online sort of talking about it. So I don't know if they've maybe gotten a bit stricter, if they've maybe just got a new system of finding, you know, potential listings and accounts that might be, you know, getting flagged. So yeah, definitely a lot stricter. So let me know as well, do you think it's a good thing that Vinted is becoming a lot more stricter so that, you know, it is a bit more police, and I suppose it's not going to become like Etsy where there's going to be lots of drop shipped rubbish being sold there? Or do you think it's maybe they're being a bit too strict and there's obviously too many innocent people getting caught like in the crossfire? So yeah, let me know what you think below. So I think I'm going to go ahead and end this week's video there. If you found it interesting or useful, make sure and hit the subscribe button and turn the notification bell for any of our future videos, and I'll see you in our next one.